Today we're going to finish up the second half of this lesson by talking about how to graph quadratics when they're in standard form. Depending on the form they're in, depends on the best way to attack it. And because we're not in school, I'm going to have to explain something kind of fast so that way you can begin graphing. Some of you have figured out how to work the computer calculator. Some of you are not having success with that and downloaded some apps. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you two ways in the mix, depending on which tool you can use. If you have any calculator whatsoever, which I'm assuming most of you do since you have a phone, you can still graph and get the points. And I'll show you how to do that using the calculator that I'm going to use. If you have the graphing one, it just is a little bit faster, but still gets to the same result. So if I am trying to graph a quadratic in standard form, the first thing I want to do is find that vertex. I want to find the middle of my graph so that way I know which numbers to start with. Now, right now, that might not make any sense to you, but it will shortly. So the standard form of any quadratic looks like ax squared plus bx plus c, where the a, b, and c are just some sort of integer. In this case, my a would be 2, my b would be -8, and my c would be 6. Okay, so even above it, I'll put a, b, and c. So in order to figure out where to start, there's a formula that tells you which x number you want to start at, where the vertex is. So if I do x equals, this is what it looks like, -b/2a. Now, if we were in class, I wouldn't just give you that, but this is going to be, I think, the most simplistic way for you guys to all be successful, no matter what device you have or tools you have to help you. So what I do is I just simply plug in the information. So negative, and then b is -8, so -8 over 2 times a, which is 2. So -8 turns positive. 2 times 2 is 4, so I get 8/4, which is just 2. Now, what that tells you is somewhere at 2 is going to be the vertex. It could be up here, it could be down here. We don't know. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a table of values. And everybody is going to always find this many, if possible. So I'm going to put 2 in the middle, and I'm going to find 2 spots above it and 2 spots below it. So I'm just going to go whole numbers. So smaller than 2 is 1 and 0. So if I go this way 2, and then I'm going to go this way 2, so 3 and 4. So what that means is I need to figure out if I plug a 0 in for x, what's the y? If I plug a 1 in. So what this 2 did, okay, once you use this formula, is that is what goes in the middle. And this is going to be your vertex. So it's going to be either the maximum or the minimum. Okay. So now here's the way you can take kind of either calculator. First, I'm going to show you any calculator. So no matter which calculator you're using, what you would do. So once you get your numbers, you're going to go one by one. So here's my equation, okay, 2, and then it's x. So in parentheses, I'm going to start with 0 squared -8 times 0, because there's another x, plus 6. And this is going to give me the y value. So wherever there was an x in the original equation, I'm plugging in 0, and I get that it's 6. So that means I can fill in my table at 0, it's 6. And then I'll do the same thing for 1. So 2, parentheses 1 squared, -8 times 1, plus 6. Okay, I get 0. And I'll do it for 2. And I get 6 again. Nope, I messed up. Look at that. I put a 1 here. So let me fix that. I needed a 2 here again. So I get -2. Okay, and I would do it again. Now, if you have either the computer calculator or your phone calculator, to get these other points, I'm going to show you this other way, just so that way you can do it either way. Now, if you don't have this, you would just keep going. So you would plug in a 3, and then you plug in a 4. If you have this, instead of doing all that, you can go into your y equals and type in the equation, just like we've done with linear. And if I want to see the table of values, remember it's second graph. So now I can go to 2. So I have to scroll down, and I'll put 2 in the middle. And what you'll notice is, here's my 2, which is -2, which we got, 0, 6, 16. And then look at 0, 6, 16. So 3 was 0, and 4 was 6. So what you will always see is this mirrored idea in your table. This should always happen around your vertex. So now I kind of just go and plot the points. Pretty simple. 0, 6, 1, 0, 2, -2, 3, 0, and 4, 6. And I would want to connect them. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions, the same questions that I asked previously. So if I were to say right now, what's the vertex? You should be able to say, oh, it's right here. It's 2, -2, because it's right there. If I were to say, does this have a max or a min? You should be looking at it. It looks like this. It has a low point. It has a min. Well, what's the y-intercept? Well, that's where the graph is crossing the y-axis, which is right here. And remember, that's also the c value. So the y-intercept is 0, 6. Okay, what are the zeros? Well, my zeros, remember, are where they cross the x-axis. So that's here and here. So that's 1, 0, and 3, 0. And if I look in my table, look at that, 1, 0, 3, 0. So all of this comes together when you're graphing. So remember, you have two options. You can plug in and fill it in, or use your tools if you have them.